All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm just going to wait for this to catch up and welcome everybody to another Tactical Tuesday. Really excited about tonight's, we Front Lobby is a name that I know. It is all over the place. I know it but you know what? Until we met last week, again, I really didn't know the depth of how amazing you guys are. So I'm really excited to spread the word more. I'm thinking if I didn't know, maybe everyone doesn't know about all of the little nuances and amazingness that you guys have. So Kayla Andrade, many of you guys know her from Ontario Landlord Watch. She has been out there as a voice for all of us landlords, whether we're in Ontario or not. She's been a voice for all of us landlords for many, many years. So welcome, Kayla. Lovely to have you back.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. You don't make me blushing on here. I'm like, we're on camera.
It's your tan from the Dominican stuff.
It
That's
is.
all it is.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm styling it pretty good. I'm telling you, the cold is hitting me. It's hitting me pretty hard.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, like shock to the system. And you guys have like crazy snow, right?
Toronto did. I think Cambridge, like I'm in Cambridge, so we just had like a little dusting, I think. It was enough to shut down the schools though, but yeah, Toronto got hit pretty hard.
That is crazy. Crazy, crazy. All right, guys. So tonight, you know what? We are talking about a really cool subject because, lots of times when we have landlords or um, guests come in, it's like this is for tenants or this is for landlords or this. But here we have this beautiful product, tool, option, whatever we want to call it, that really out of our conversation last week, I was very much like, you know what? This is very empowering to us as landlords, extremely empowering. I think I told the story last week to you that I had at one point gone and advertised it where I wanted higher rents, and so was probably going to have to take something, someone with a little less good credit, and I advertised that we could help build their credit. And so it's really cool as landlords that we can protect ourselves yet empower our tenants using Front Lobby. So Kayla, why
Yeah.
don't you give us a little rundown? You guys have multiple hats. We talked about that too. Lots of times we have to wear different hats. But you guys are a tool for us landlords, yet a beautiful thing for tenants. So tell us, what is Front Lobby? What do you do?
Okay, so Front Lobby is a way for landlords to report their tenants' monthly payment history, and you can report past former tenant debt, and you can also do your credit checks. There's going to be some other features that Front Lobby has to help you manage and look like a very professional landlord when you are in this scope of providing rental units, no matter where you are in Canada or in the United States. So they're all over the place right now. So it's going to be a way
Right.
for us to have that community and something that we've been wanting for years and years and something that I as an advocate has been screaming for and luckily I was able to find it.
Amazing. So when I think of Front Lobby, I didn't necessarily connect it to credit all the time. But if there's one thing that in my mind we really need to remember is that as this rent, like tenants pay us rent, it's probably the biggest expense that they have in their lives.
Yeah.
And yet it doesn't affect their credit for good or for bad.
Hmm.
And you guys took this gap that there was and you bridged this gap so that we as landlords can report their credit, good and bad, on a trade line, credit line, or whatever it might be. I'm not using the right terminology. You will.
Trade
What is it?
line.
Trade line
Yeah.
for when they pay their rent.
Yes.
What is the benefit to the tenant?
So, Front Lobby became the first people in Canada and also to be the first people being fully compliant with the government and allowing landlords to report this rental payment history to the credit bureau. The reason why it's good for the tenants is because one, landlords, like we are doing everything and asking for everything when it comes down to approving your application at the landlord before the landlord is accepting these tenants as tenants. Now you're coming with obviously your credit report. A lot of landlords are not accepting that. So we need to make sure that our landlords are being able to conduct their own credit check, which they can do through FrontLobby. It's a long form Equifax credit report along with the tenancy record from Landlord Credit Bureau. So this is going to be key into getting our landlords the right tools when they're doing their tenant screening. And when a tenant is able to say, "Hey, I've been reported as a good paying tenant," they're able to start telling the landlord to do the credit check and look at this tenancy record through Landlord Credit Bureau and be able to have easy access to that trade line that's been reported to Equifax. The tenants are going to be able to build their credit. Sometimes we start off with like 650, say, okay, 650 is good, but why not help that tenant get higher? Why not build that tenant for success to help them get into a higher credit bureau number in order to help them become homeowners and or landlords themselves? And that's what we're doing with Front Lobby is connecting those tenants who want that, connecting it their landlords to report the data and helping them succeed so they can actually be the homeowner.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? Especially, I have a lot of nieces in my life that are now in their late teens, early 20s, and starting to be, going out and renting their own places for the first time. And I said to one the other day, I'm like, you know what? Instead of getting a credit card, because I don't like it when kids get credit cards, instead of getting a credit card, why don't you offer, when you apply at this place, offer to pay the bill for Front Lobby for your landlord if they don't already use it, so that you can build credit through paying rent instead of building credit through having a credit card. And I just thought, like, there's so many good things to this. Just going to take a quick minute to say hi to everybody. Turkeys are on. Westport, Ontario. Tyson from Vancouver. George from Yarmouth. Who else is on with us? Think I'm behind on comments, so sometimes it takes a few seconds to catch up, 20 seconds or so. So say hi, let us know where you're from, guys. If you have any questions for Front Lobby, if you are a landlord, I'm super surprised and impressed at how easy and cost effective it is to use Front Lobby services. So Lisa, Janie, hi. Nice to have everybody here. Okay, so again, yeah, if you're on the replay, also type in the words replay. Let us know that you're here, please. I'm trying to get better, Kayla, at like doing all the things that you're supposed to do for your lives. Because, as you
I
know,
know.
yeah, flap the seat in my pants, but it's like, no,
Great.
do all the things, right?
You're
So how many
great.
of you guys recognize Kayla? We had a heart shower for Kayla. I like heart showers. Corey always used to ask for them. I never did. Now I'm starting to ask for them, and I like, so here we go. We'll see them. You'll see them after.
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
I'll have to
Steve,
rewatch.
yeah, right? Awesome. Stephen, Mira, nice to see you. It's been a while. Sean Impey from St. Albert. He's a mortgage broker. Maybe you know him. Craig, okay, awesome. Thank you guys for saying hello. That's awesome. Okay, so that's the benefit for tenants. The benefit for tenants is they get to build their credit. They get to, use it for their next either purchase or a landlord or whatever. What's the benefit for us? Because as landlords, we're probably going to be footing that bill. What's
Before
the benefit for
we
us?
get into the landlord, I also want to make sure that tenants can actually register underneath as a tenant in Front Lobby and send the information for their landlords to approve. So the tenants can already start inviting their landlords to start taking advantage of this. It's just when landlords are getting their tenants to do it, yes, the landlord can report the good payment history, but if the landlord wants to report a debt, that's when the landlord needs to have their own account with Front Lobby. So put that out there, just say because we want to be able to help our good tenants as well. But when the debt comes, obviously the landlord's going to need his own account. So sometimes we just like to tell our landlords, let's just like bypass that part of it, start becoming a member of Front Lobby in order for you to have the power to do both good and negative and take away the cost from the tenants anyways and try to help them out a little bit more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're like landlord. So this is where I honestly, Tiffany, I love talking about Front Lobby. I love it because as my advocacy journey, I've been a landlord for 24 years. I've been a housing advocate for 15, and we know that there's bad landlords and we know there's bad tenants. And this
Yeah.
is I used to say that it's a tool, and I don't say that it's a tool anymore. I say it's the tool. And it's the tool that I'm trying to get our elected officials to tell more people about because it is just about bringing awareness to what Front Lobby has to offer for our landlords. As a landlord, we've dealt with tenants who stop paying rent just because the system enables them to do so. But
Like
there
allows them to do so. Like,
allows
right?
and
It's
feeds it.
legal. Yeah.
And there's
Oh,
groups out there that educate tenants on, how to avoid paying rent, how to avoid eviction. And sometimes it's about holding that tenant accountable for the contract that they've signed. It's also about warning your fellow landlords, no matter where you are, because sometimes tenants are relocating different provinces. And this is the community that you're able to stay connected with and be able to tell our landlords to say, this is a tenant who either A, paid on time and in full and deserves to have first pickings at your rental unit, or it's going to indicate this is a tenant that we're not exactly thrilled about because of their past history of non-payment of rent. Now, you can report unpaid rent and you can report unpaid utilities to Front Lobby. They share it with Landlord Credit Bureau and Equifax on a monthly basis. You do not need an order and you do not need the tenant's consent, but you do need.
okay.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That,
Got me excited
I
now.
know you are. I have to stop you here and there because you're saying all these things like they're little, but to me, they're like, wait, 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 wait. So I
Yeah, yeah.
don't need the consent because often I feel like, okay, to get involved with the credit bureaus, I'm going to need proper consent and blah, blah. It has to say this exact word. You're saying we
Yeah.
don't need consent. Also, we don't need what?
You
You
don't
said
need a
something else.
consent and you don't need an order to report the debt.
Okay, so in
Debt.
Alberta, like I'm a landlord in Alberta, and for me, I always thought if I wanted to report the debt, I have to go to the courts, go through the RTDRS, get a judgment, go file that in the courts, and then, proceed. And you're saying we don't even have to do that. We can report it as a credit line, just like our credit cards every month report whether or not we've paid. We become like a credit card. And people that miss credit card payments, they don't fret about it because they missed a payment. They fret about because it's going to affect their credit. And
Yeah.
so we become one of those people in their lives where they go, I don't want to miss that because it's going to affect my credit.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Huge,
now again,
huge.
like that is for the debt side of things, but when you're reporting the good payment history, we do require the tenant's consent. But when you create a lease in the platform, you send it off to the tenants get the email, they give consent through the platform. You can include it within your lease addendums and your applications, and Front Lobby has great clauses that you can include in there.
Okay.
But ideally, it's definitely for good payments, no consent. Debt, you don't need it.
That's
Or
amazing.
consent,
Yeah.
consent for
So
debt.
and there's two kind of I guess categories to that with Front Lobby. So one of them is the rent reporting itself, right? So where you go across the board and you become a landlord and you say, I'm going to report my rent, the rents that I receive every month. And this is just across the board. And then there's the debt reporting, two different things. That happens once someone has defaulted or owes you money. And there's a caveat in there is that this does not include damages. So it's not like we can go after them but it does include, do you want to just repeat that one part?
Yeah, so if you are like, so you have the option to do monthly, good and negative, as long as the tenant is your current tenant. When the tenants become a former tenant, and that would be tenants going back 6 years, or soon as that current tenant vacates, then you're now reporting it as the debt reporting feature that Front Lobby has. And if you do have tenants that you did bring to the landlord and tenant board, or whatever board you are in Canada or the States, you are going to be able, if you get an order for damages, you can report that to Front Lobby, but you need an order just for the damages.
Okay. See, every time I talk to you, I learn more. I learn more. And every time I'm like, okay, this is okay. And like
Don't worry,
Sarah's
I
saying,
get excited. Like I get excited. I get way too excited for that.
and that's why you're such a good advocate for them because your excitement, like even with me, gets me excited. And then I'm like, hey, wait, what? Like it's good when we have some passion about things. So I just want to say, even just like Sarah says, I don't feel so scared to rent out my condo now. Like just little bits of empowerment that we have as landlords, especially in Ontario. So in Ontario, you guys are like
We're
hearts
sad.
of steel. Well, I'm just like, wow, you guys are strong to be able to do what you do out there because it's a little bit tougher. So, yeah. Anyways, really, really great. So, if you have any questions, guys, feel free to drop them right in here. Welcome, Tina and Sarah, and oh, I just missed it. Anyways, okay. Um, okay, so we can report damages. That's really cool. It just goes in as something after you've had a judgment. Yeah, that's really cool. Um, I didn't ask you this the other day. So does that include co-signers?
You can actually do the co-signers as well. So this is where co-signers can also benefit from this. And I think that's where probably a lot of Ontario owners are going towards is like, okay, like your credit's okay, but can we get a co-signer? And the co-signers definitely can be reported as well, building their credit at the same time. And again, like it's just about how we take this tool and explain it and tell the co-signer as well. And you can put the co-signer's email into the platform, so they're gonna get the front lobby emails that go out, reminding them that rent is due, reminding them, hey, there was a payment that's been reported. This is how you can address it. So a lot of it's about keeping almost your co-signer in the loop of what's happening, especially since they've co-signed for a tenant.
Okay, really cool. And I like that because I will say I do get like if I take co-signers, which is pretty rare, but sometimes I will. I really feel like a jerk when I have to call the co-signer and be like, "Hey, did you know your kid didn't pay rent this month?" Like I feel like a jerk. So that kind of would take that part out for me in that they would get notice automatically with this email. So tell us about this email. So as a tenant and as a landlord, there's an email that goes out every month from FrontLobby.
Yeah, they have like you can have your toggles, you can turn them on, you can turn them off. Sometimes it's like, no, I just want to use it as a tool. I don't want to have as a reminder. I always encourage our toggles to be turned on. They are very key into helping the tenants pay even early. So you can go in, you can actually register as a free member and start moving yourself around in there and start looking at the emails that do go out as the rent reminder emails, the late payment reminder emails, and just play around with the system because it's very easy to use. And I think once people get a good handle on like how easy it is to use, they're not going to feel so scared about the rent reporting and the toggles and the cosigners. It's a key. Like I've been a landlord for 24 years and seeing how I've had a cosigner within my one of my tenancies. It was my husband was picking her and he's like, well, it's coming as a cosigner as her mom. She went for some reason 7 months of not paying rent. There was about $10,000 in the arrears, and I was just like, hey, just letting you know, like, this is what's going on. I'm going to be reporting this. And the mother's like, I'm getting all of her stuff out before the sheriff comes tomorrow, and I will have a check for you the next day. I had the check for the arrears, I had the check for the water bill, and I had the check for how much I paid for the sheriff because I had a cosigner. So I never been a big person of cosigning, and now I'm like, let's please, like, let's do this.
Yeah, it's funny. I will often take them now, even when they don't need it. Like
Yeah.
even when they've got good credit, I'm like, they'll be like, I can get a cosigner if I need or whatever. And I'm like, it's fine. And then I'm like, wait, no, cosigners have really helped me out a lot. So why wouldn't I take it, right? So, okay, so Stephen's asking, how much is it?
Yeah, so right now it's a 239 for a yearly membership. That does include up to 20 current leases. So you can report 5 people and that will still be considered just one lease, and that's to report current rental payment history to the credit bureaus. Now, if those tenants become former tenants, or you have a tenant that left you high and dry over 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, you can report them as a one-time fee to Front Lobby as a premium member for $99. But if you want to report it as a free basic member and not sign up for the premium membership, you can do that for $199.
Okay. Okay. So there's a few different options. So the one that annually allows you to report every single month, which actually remind me to ask you this about Auto default. Okay, so the one that allows you to report every single month, that was 239 a year.
Yeah,
Okay.
239 for the year.
Is it legal for me to pass that cost on to my tenant if they're wanting to build their credit?
I am not a paralegal. I can't give you any type of legal advice, but you can indeed offer it to your tenants for them to sign up. But again, it's just going to be about which way you want to, adapt that. Are you going to be able to enforce it to say, hey, you didn't pay the 239 for the year to cover my program? Or do you send them the link to sign up as a tenant, which I
Mhm.
believe, if I'm not mistaken, about $4 a month for the tenants or eight. I have FrontLobby support with me tonight, so I'm just there. I just love talking about front lobby, but we have front lobby here, being able to comment of what it's going to be for the tenants to.
Yeah, so she says depends on the province or the state. Here in Ontario, that's a hard no. I believe in Alberta we would be able to do that, but I probably would need to check that out. And then she says yes, it's $4 for the tenants to be able. So there you go, Kayla. You were right. So okay, so 239, Stephen, and that's going to cover you for a year and up to 20 leases that you can be reporting. Now, when I hear 20 leases, I go, thanks. I've got enough work to do as a landlord. That sounds like a lot of work. No, thank you. Kayla, tell me how it actually works so that I can go, oh, never mind. That's not a big deal.
I know that's the big scary thing that I was like, oh my God, do I got to do this like every single month and report that they paid and they didn't pay? So Front Lobby's platform allows landlords to create that lease, put all the information into them, the tenant, what they're paying. It's being reported as on time and in full every single month, unless you go into the system to report that debt. So this is going to be a little easier for people who are paying on time. You don't have to go in. The only thing you do have to do is every 6 months, or 2 months, sorry, log into the system, let it know you're alive and that you didn't like set it and forget it. Because they want to
Right.
make sure that the data that is being reported to the credit bureaus is, updated and it's practical of what's being reported, that you just all of a sudden you just help your tenant growing their credit, and here they didn't pay their rent
Right.
for that month.
And will they send me an email saying, hey, you haven't logged in for 60 days or whatever it is? Like, you better, like, come on, log in, let us know you're alive. Yeah, they will.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I
That's
get
really
I
cool.
get some of that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you gotta log in. I'm like, okay, I'm logging in. Like, I got you. I got you. And
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
my tenants have given me some amazing feedback of how it's helped them grow. Like they're talking like it grew 150 points given to their credit since I started reporting.
Would that be like in a year or in a couple of years? Feels like
That
that's a lot.
that was just in 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
they were very thrilled to see how it's been helping them. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want you leaving me right now. Like, stay. We're not ready. Like, wait, don't leave me.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But ideally, at the end of the day, if we can help someone buy a home, their first home, I mean, we're in this game, as landlords, a lot of us are like, no, we want to provide housing for people. We want to be able to do something and good out of all of this. So, yeah, pretty fantastic.
We've had
Angie, go ahead.
No, we've had it where our tenants have left we had two tenants who left to become homeowners. And we're always like talking to tenants when we're screening them about like, do you ever want to like get into this business? And, we're guiding them and helping them and telling them to look for like right now 3 units, not just 2 units. And the education is key for not only landlords, but tenants. And if we can take our years of experience and bring that to our business, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Okay. Okay, so now we've got couple of things. So you report to two different credit bureaus. So uh la oh, forget the name. LLC.
At
LC.
Landlord Credit Bureau.
Thank you. Um, so you report to
I like
them.
your LLC though. Like it's like I do. I really like it.
It's like the only way I remember things sometimes in short form. So you report to them, but importantly, you also report to at least one of the big ones, and you guys are continually growing as well. So you also report to Equifax for sure right now. And that, again, what that does for me as a landlord, when I pull someone's credit and I see that they have a trade line that shows me whether or not they've paid their rent. Now, what I often would see is just that they have a judgment against them from, boardwalk or whatever it might be. And so therefore I know that obviously there was rent due. But if I don't know the name of a landlord, if it's not these big things for damages, I don't know what their history is unless I call the landlord if they're available. This way I would be able to see it because I do pull Equifax. And so I'd be able to see it automatically whether or not they've paid their rent, when they didn't, how they didn't, when they did, how they did, all of those things, all through Equifax. An established credit bureau, you're not making this stuff up. You're not in control of it. All you're doing is reporting.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, you're just reporting it to the credit bureaus. Like you'll get the breakdown through landlord credit bureau, where the breakdown for the tenants. You can also see who reported it, communicate with that landlord through email. Equifax, it's coming as a trade line. It's coming as FrontLobby trade line, being able to indicate there was this debt that was owed to the landlord and now impacting the tenant's credit. And I can give you a little story for myself doing this for 24 years, having one tenant, I had a good tenant gone bad. I got stuck with the husband through the divorce, 7 months, got lost on $7,000, reported them, and legitly at his 5.5 year mark of it being on his credit, he reached out, tried to give a sappy story. He said that this is the only thing impacting him. What he was trying to do was to consolidate his loans, and they wouldn't do it until the debt that he gave me, that I put on his credit, was paid. So like, they act like they don't care. Eventually it does catch up to them. And that's the message that I want our landlords to understand, is that there is going to be the tenants that don't care. They already have the bad credit because they were able to weasel themselves in with false pretense. But there is a time and place where they do end up caring. And if not, if it comes to a point where it's like if they're a lost cause and they're not going to want to pay, at least you're letting your community know. And I think that's what our landlords are needing to focus on, is building that community.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's really important that we kind of like that we come together as landlords. And for you guys in Ontario, you've had to do that for a while now because you've had, the stakes were against you and things were a lot tougher in Ontario. And so you have this kind of camaraderie that we don't necessarily have in most of the other provinces. But if we can do something to, as a group of landlords, make each other's jobs easier, for something that also benefits us and also benefits our tenants. I mean, why wouldn't we, right? George is asking, is the Landlord Credit Bureau a national body?
FrontLobby probably will be asking that. Oh, we'll put that in the support. It's it's they're saying Canada and the US, so it's just Canada and US is what's being reported to Landlord Credit Bureau.
Okay, so I mean that's national and then some, right? So
I'm just not in the UK yet.
on the UK.
They're crazy.
Okay, so Angie's asking, is there a way to see how much a tenant's credit has gone up since we started reporting? So that's kind of interesting. And then FrontLobby did answer. I don't know if you want to answer it or if you want me to read the answer there.
Yeah, if you want to have them answer there, because I know for us is like always, I like to stay in connection with my tenants, and I say, okay, like you're in my tenancy. I'm like, can you guys let me know in about 6 months? Like, let me know what your credit, because you can actually they can pull their own individual credit through their bank. I'm like, I want you to like give me an update, so let me know how it is, because I've done it for two of the tenants who have that I started doing it with, and right away they were like, oh my God, this is crazy. But yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so yeah, so Yvonne said, or FrontLobby says that you'd have to pull another credit report to see. But landlords often get their tenants to update them. So our study with Equifax reported an average of credit boost of 68 points if they were paying on time within the first 6 to 12 months. So
I definitely would encourage, or like if you want to pull it again, make sure you have the tenant's permission to pull it again, because you initially get the tenant's consent to do a credit check on them. If you want to do it again for the purpose of just trying to see exactly how it was able to benefit them, make sure you're getting the permission from the tenant to pull the credit again.
okay, interesting. So the way, and again, maybe this is a provincial thing, but the way my lease has it worded is that I can, have their permission to pull credit. There is no timeline on that. I can pull their credit anytime between when they signed and 10 years later, as many times as I want, which is awful. I of course, never have abused that privilege. But what's nice about that is if in 6 years, I want to find out where they're living so that I can serve documents on them, documents of service. I can usually find them through their credit. I can find their address.
Yeah.
So,
It
yeah,
might be
interesting.
just a clause. It might be just a clause that many of us, because in Ontario we have to do like the standard lease, and if you don't have addendums attached to your standard lease, then we're really just going the curtails of the Residential Intensi Act. So it's definitely going to
Right.
be something just to dig deeper in when you want to just, just trying to see that you're trying to help the tenant and making sure that everything is growing for them. I can assure you it is, as long as that what they're also doing on the other, because one thing is about rent reporting being helping them build, but they also can't be running up debt somewhere else.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
but I have my rent being reported. It's going to grow. It's like, well, you can't be going into debt somewhere else.
Yeah. Okay, so I really love Front Lobby's answer here is 68 points, let's say, in the first year if they've paid on time. So that takes a tenant from a 630 credit score to a 700 in a year.
Yeah.
Now for me, 630 is I'm not it's not within my parameters of what I take on. Yeah, so I don't generally. Um,
Almost, almost.
But 700, I do. Like that would literally make the difference for me as a landlord of whether I accepted them or didn't accept them. That's 68 points. So that's
Mhm.
actually pretty substantial. Um, on that note, I was going to say a couple minutes back when you said something about, whether or not they preserve their credit or whatever. So for me, I don't take anyone with bad credit
Mhm.
because I use credit as a carrot. And I very much will say to them, like, listen, as long as you're working with me, if there's ever any issues, as long as you're working with me, I will not report your credit. Like, I will make sure that you are whatever, it's fine. But if you default and you run away and I don't hear from you, I will report you to the credit bureau and you will, that those damages will be reported and that will affect your credit. And the fact that their credit is on the line makes a massive difference. So for me, through the years, I've now learned the hard way that I don't take anyone with bad credit because I know it's something that people so fiercely defend when they have good credit.
Mhm.
But you're kind of able to bridge again another gap there in saying, well, if I did need to take someone with bad credit, let's say I'm in a market that's a little bit depressed right now and my options aren't as beautiful as they've always been, or my rents, yeah, or my rents are lower than what I'm needing or wanting. And so I
Mhm.
might have to take that person I normally wouldn't. I'm kind of buying a little bit of insurance if I then pay the 239 a year to be able to have their credit matter and be tied into this. That's a pretty good insurance plan if you ask me.
It's all in the screening process, like incorporating that you are a professional landlord who report tenants' monthly payment history in the ad alone and repeat it when you're showing them the rental unit. You're setting that ground for the tenants to say, listen, I'm willing to like work with you if you're obviously knowing what's happening and then knowing that I have this tool. And it's always a negotiation tool as well. If you have a
Mhm.
tenant that's in the midst of having a hardship, you're obviously going to point them to different government services that can help them, but at the same time, potentially negotiate an end of tenancy and not have to go through the landlord and tenant board in order to do it and or report it to the credit bureaus.
Yeah.
It's always just about
Okay, so
how you present it.
right, it's positioning, right? Like most things in life, it's positioning.
Yeah.
Okay, 22 times more effective. Do you remember what that stat is from? We
That is going to be about retrieving the debt that comes from Front Lobby. And it
Yeah. So if I have a debt, so if I have even damages that have a judgment or rent and unpaid rent and unpaid utilities, and I've registered that, I have a 22% more chance. Now that number is, not necessarily, a statistician may not draw that number out, but that's about what you're finding is 22 times more chance of recovering that debt if it has been reported through FrontLobby. Is that correct?
It is correct. And you kind of look at
Huge.
what happens when you're in control of reporting a debt to the credit bureaus and not having to go through the end of a collection agency. Collection agencies take between 35 to 40% of whatever they collect. Sometimes they have harassing phone calls and whatever, but what really makes the needle move for some of these tenants is knowing that it's impacted their credit, it's impacting their ability to seek other accommodations, it's impacting the tenant's ability to have the lower interest rate if they needed to get a car loan. It's impacting their entire scope of their life. It's not just the fact that, oh, I just left one landlord. It's like, no, and now it's carrying through. It's following you. And that's the consequence. That's where it shows there's consequences to be put in place for these tenants who think just because the provincial system is not protecting the landlords, we do have now tools that more and more landlords are going to get fully aware of what they are and how to use them. And they're going to be
Yeah.
able to make sure that it helps them protect not only their investment, but they're good tenants that are out there and making sure that you're helping them thrive.
Yeah, right. I like that. And like Eric Turcott is on here and he has buildings in Ontario. And when they
Sorry,
both
Eric. Yeah,
he's
sorry.
he's sorry, right? He's actually like such a trooper. I've said to him before, like, holy smokes, like he's like, no, it's all good. Him and Colin and Nicole, they're very chill about everything, but they have systems and process that take care of this stuff. And he says, yeah, we use FrontLobby. And he said that at the very beginning of on our show here. And I'm like, you know what? Like as we talk more and more, I keep thinking about them. And I'm like, yeah, if I were Eric and Tara and Colin and Nicole, there's no way I'd be a landlord without having this in Ontario, especially. Everywhere I think can benefit. BC. To
Mm.
me, it's like, okay, if the government isn't going to have legislation that protects us as landlords, this is a carrot we can dangle as a good and bad, and that we can then actually give them, not dangle and never give, to make sure that everyone's on the same page and working towards the same goal. So that's pretty great. I'm just gonna read Front Lobby's answer because the answer I gave about the 22 times is my answer. Okay, just let's be really clear. But when we compare our debt recovery with a standard collections agency, we find that landlords were about to recover the debt 22 times more effectively within the first year. Like that alone is huge when you've got tens of thousands of dollars in rent that is owing. So and unlike the standard collection agencies that deal with all sorts of debt and don't prioritize rental debts, especially us little landlords that don't necessarily have, big legal teams.
Don't
We
even
can
know where they get their credit checks. Like a lot of people are like, if you're not a big boy in the big game of, the big REITs, then they're like, who's going to do credit checks? So a lot of it's just about education and sharing that information with one another. Even though
yeah,
it's something
for
you may
sure.
think that you think everyone knows, just tell it to someone because you'd be surprised on how many people you can educate.
It's so true. Very true. Okay, so who are some of the people that we as landlords could really be? So we talked, quite a bit today about maybe those people that are bad debtors. But let's talk about who else we can help. So who are some of the ones that really need the credit rebuilding, and maybe this is going to be one of their only trade lines. I know we talked about like newcomers to Canada, for example. How can that help them?
Well, newcomers coming to Canada, they don't have a lot of credit, so getting in the door and having them have access to this type of tool builds their footprint here in Canada. We have our students who are getting into school debt right away and knowing that they're living in private residential student housing, getting them aware that their landlords do have this option is going to help the students. We're going to have our, our divorcees, people who've went through a hard time, and there was a lot of separation of debt that was happening, and but now they're renting. So let's start building their credit back from a divorce that was handling there. People living in government housing, people living in nonprofit housing, trying to get this information out to those providers, because we have people who may not have great credit, but they end up do have stable income, and we want to start seeing their credit now grow as well, being in that environment where it could be rent geared to income. And now they want to go into the private sector, but they may not have good credit. Let's help them build that credit. Let's help them build that tenancy record to make them achieve a little bit more and open up that availability to someone who now needs it in their place.
Yeah, I love that. I had a whole complex, and we've sold all of them in there now. Actually, this last summer was our last one that went, but a whole complex where I actually ended up focusing on newcomers to Canada because I felt like they didn't have credit, and so they couldn't get nice places. And I'm like, well, these places aren't fancy, but they're nice and they're clean and they're a good place to live. And there was a newcomers center not too far away, so I would just keep on contact with them, and I never had vacancies there because anytime there's a vacancy, I would talk to these people. But one thing I do wish was that I was able to help them actually build credit, because these were good people that were working really hard, come to Canada with nothing and built these lives. And they were so thankful, so respectful. They never missed rent. Some of them were our tenants for 7+ years, never missed. And yet I wasn't able to help them build anything out of it. Whereas I could have. One of them actually called me, interestingly, just a few months ago, and he's a doctor now, and he got recertified or whatever, and he wants to invest in real estate. And so he wants to know, right? And he's like, you treated me so well, I was wondering if are you still doing this, blah blah blah. So these people are amazing for our country, and yet we're not really helping them out much. So this would be another way that we can help them out, which I thought was really cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think when you get into like you can give a reference and write it down, but like sometimes a lot of landlords are very skeptical if we're getting the real reference from the actual landlord. But when you're able to just skip that process and say, at least I could do is report this payment history that you pay every month to the credit bureaus, and it's coming from the credible Equifax and landlord credit bureau, like this is going to be key into like building that for him. That's so awesome. I think I love that story. Now,
Yeah, yeah,
is it going to
it
help
was
you out if you need a doctor, though?
right. Huh? Yeah, I wonder.
Call him up. Call him up. Tell him.
Yeah, I should be like, hey, I tell you what, my doctor's retiring. Actually, I do need a doctor. So it would be interesting to hear the rental advocate ideas here in Nova Scotia. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, a little tougher. They wouldn't oppose the rent being posted. They would argue, oh, they might oppose it. He's saying, do you know anything about Nova Scotia and its kind of rules for this kind of stuff? Do you know?
Nova
You,
Scotia with rent reporting? No,
hmm
no, that's it's same there. It goes across the board. It's totally good there. I always thought they were talking about the advocacy stuff because I know that there is a lot of intervention now with government doing different rules and regulations. That's got to be another segment.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so info, no, hang on now. I can't copy and paste this link into the chat, but we will put, for those of you who are looking at this, we will put, it is info.frontlobby.com/start. So we will put that in the feed for you here in the live. Um,
And that's the free rent reporting starter kit, learning what rental data can and cannot be reported, avoid common reporting mistakes, use a ready-to-go rent reporting lease clause, like I mentioned, and understanding how rent reporting can reduce the delinquencies by 92%, and giving you more information about no court order. So the information that you can now send to your tenants when you start bringing this into your current tenancies. It gives you all the information that you're fully prepared to adapt it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I can cut and paste that into my lease.
Yeah, yeah. Cut and
Yeah.
paste it into your lease. You don't really need it in the lease, but well, again, it's through the platform or obviously the debt. You don't need any consents or clauses.
Okay, so this is how I always do it. Whether it's through single key or front lobby or anyone, it doesn't matter to me. I will always have my own consent as well. I'll have them do both
Yeah,
because I
you got the consent through the platform of the credit pulling the credit report, and then you
yeah,
have the fact of like consent in order to report the debt. I think that's the two separation.
yeah, yeah. And I like to be able to pull it in, like I said, if I need to find them in a few years or whatever it might be, because sometimes that's helpful as well. Okay, so let's just do a quick right before we get off, we're gonna do a quick breakdown. So to do the rent reporting is 239 per year. To then do debt collect reporting. So if it's anytime in the last 6 years, I could for one price, either $99 or to what was it?
199.
199 or 99 depending on where I fit. So for under $200, I can report all of my bad debt over the last 6 years from all of my tenants, correct?
So it's 199 for as per lease. So you're reporting that as a free. So you have like the 199 is what you're going to report your former tenant's debt as a premium member, and then it's 199 for the free basic member that you're reporting. But when it comes
Okay,
down
so
to the debt of current tenancies, then you have 20 current leases, and that could be good or negative. But when those current tenants become a former tenant, then you have to report it as a former tenant debt.
okay, okay,
A
okay, okay.
one-time
So
fee.
and the 239 would make me a premium member, and then it would be $99 per old lease
Yes.
to add on if I'm a premium 239 per year member.
And you also get the benefit of 1099 credit checks as being a premium member as well.
Okay. Yeah. And you also do uh screening, tenant screening as well. It's a
Yeah,
smaller part of your business, but it is part of your business. So it can all be
credit
done at
check,
once.
background check, but I think what all the members would like to have if you check out, like even our free premium members get it as well as Landlord Assist. So if you have your crazy questions, you want AI's backing with being molded by the FrontLobby team, it's going to actually help you draft that crafty little letter to better protect you when you're communicating with your tenants, to be more professional. I look at landlords' emails all the time, what they're sending to their tenants, and I'm like, whoa, like let's take that emotion out. Landlord
Right?
Assist really guides you and directs you where you can get the information to help you be a better landlord.
Awesome. So you guys, Front Lobby itself, and you, Kayla, as well, you guys are advocates for landlords. Also for, I would say you're also advocates for tenants. But it's, in our realm, you guys are advocates for landlords. So thank you for all of the work you do. I know you do a lot of work behind the scenes and have all kinds of work ahead of you. Like you said, you're constant. So, thank you for all the stuff that you do for us that we don't even notice. Bill 60, a lot of that was, obviously there's a lot of people that are working for it, but you were a voice enough in that you got a personal phone call yourself, letting you know that that was actually going to go through. That's pretty great. So thank you for
That
all
was
the
wild. That was wild. I've never thought that I would have that conversation with Doug Ford himself, but just to know that like tenants are very thankful for Bill 60 as well, believe it or not. So it's just about getting that education and getting that information where it's not misinformation, it's not misguided. We just really have to do our part as an investment group, no matter where we are in the country, to keep
yeah.
sharing that information. And that's what I hope everyone does within the Fearless Investor Real Estate Group as well.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again, I'm sure. We'll have to have you guys on. Marketing tool, George. Yes, I used it as a marketing tool in one of my lease ups and said we would build their credit. And it definitely brought in extra people. So,
And
okay.
Stephanie,
Cheers, everyone.
can I
Mm,
just do one thing? I want everyone to pay attention to Front Lobby this week on there is something big happening.
yes.
I can't say, so just shut it off now before I say it. So everyone, check it out. Keep an eye. Something big's happening.
I was kind of throwing out that one question a
No,
little bit. I
no,
know. I
you
didn't say
know,
anything.
I know. We have to wait. I think maybe tomorrow, maybe Thursday.
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. And keep your eye out to info session coming up, guys, on February 23rd. If you're wanting to know anything more about real estate coaching and expanding your business, and if you're wondering what the heck is going on in Canadian real estate, we're doing an info session on February 23rd. And next week, we are talking about MLI Select and how, that actually, we might change this to the next week after that. But coming up right away, we are having, MLI Select. A lot of people, you put your numbers in, and a year later is when you actually need the financing. A lot of things can have changed. And so some kind of stopgap methods and little insurances we can put along the way to plan for some of these things that are going to be coming up for a lot of investors. So thanks again, Kayla. Thank you, Front Lobby. We appreciate you very much. And cheers, everyone. Have a beautiful week, and we will see you next week for another Tactical Tuesday.
Thanks, guys.